Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Gee, I hope I didn't make a mistake with these two. They promised me they'd bring in some really good guests. Well, anyway, here's Frank and Irene.
Welcome to Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene. It looks like I've been orphaned. This is the show where the other co-host, can't be bothered to show up. Anyway, what a crazy week we've had this week. We're in an era where Colin Kaepernick takes a knee and is accused of being un-American, and Aaron Rodgers puts his foot up our asses by lying about getting the vaccination and complaining about the woke mob while he's taking medical advice from a former Fear Factor host who encouraged people to eat horse rectum and worms, and now, ironically, suggesting horse rectum deworming medication as a cure to COVID because he's more qualified than scientists and doctors who arduously work to give us quantifiable data. Okay, no, that's not narcissism at all. I'm a little tongue-tied today as it is. This is a crazy time that we're living in where a lot of anti-vaxxers are chanting my body, my choice because they believe it's their right, unless it's a woman's right to choose. And if you're befuddled with whether or not a Confederate goddamn flag license plate qualifies as a racist item, I'm here to clarify that it's not a vanity plate, it's a goddamn hate plate. Just like a swastika, you might as well just get it tattooed on your goddamn forehead because it is a symbol of hate and it's part of who you are. And also, I started watching Made. I don't know if anybody has seen Made on Netflix. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And of course, it deals with all these issues that are broken in America. Systemic poverty, systemic misogyny. We really need to change and reframe what's going on here. No, not just reframe it, completely change the landscape where billionaires aren't paying income taxes, but the working poor are. How is this happening? And lastly, I'm just disgusted to see what's happening on with a Republic cunt representative, Gosar, I like to call him Grossar, what he did, that anime video stabbing and killing with a sword Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and not being held accountable. What kind of a fucking world do we live in? It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack in the first 5 minutes. Believe me, I know it is. I'm going to bring on our guest who I absolutely adore. I love this woman. She's incredible. You're going to love her just as much as I do. The lovely, the one, the only, Karen Bergreen, everybody. Just the two of us. I have no idea where Frank is. I hope he's enjoying his walk. I'm going to shoot him a text. Sweetie, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see you. You have a different look than you did when you were on our podcast.
Yeah, you know what? I went from hooker to broken down hooker. It's almost like I was going to say slutty intellectual. Yeah, I like slutty. I want to bring it back. Slutty intellectual. I like it. I really do.
Can we not use the word slutty anymore? Because it is such a good word. I know.
It is. I want to bring it back, Karen. I definitely want to bring it back. I think we need to empower ourselves, especially in an era where women are constantly, I know we're making some strides here, but we're constantly being pulled back into that systemic misogyny. I know you haven't heard about what's going on, but let me enlighten you, and then I want your opinion on it. I just saw on Twitter that Representative Gosar, as I like to call him, Grossar, he's the Republican representative from Arizona, actually posted a video of himself, an anime video of himself stabbing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the back with a sword, and there have been absolutely no ramifications for this at all.
Well, like what the hell? Okay, like what about Kathy Griffin, right?
Right.
When right? When she was like on a terrorist list. I mean, exactly. The thing is, he's so stupid.
Yes.
He's so dumb, he doesn't understand. So it's on the one hand, yeah, he's it's evil what he did and everything. But the bigger issue is that he's so stupid. The bigger, right? And I guess a lot of his fans are really stupid too.
Right.
So
I actually, you know what it is? We knew that Kathy Griffin was joking when she did that, but I don't know if Republicans are really joking. To me, they are slightly psychotic and sociopathic. So yes, the overarching fact is that he is incredibly dumb, and most of the GOP just has this baseline dumbness as it is. But also, why isn't he being held accountable? I mean, right? Video. Fuck him. Imagine if it's on the other side.
Don't you think that though, that party, it is, look, I don't want to do, people, and there are Democrats who do dopey things, but the Republicans, I thought I turned off my notifications, I'm sorry. The Republicans do things that are so much more violent, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I actually think refusing to wear a mask is an act of violence. I really do. I
love you for saying that. Karen, that is one of the most important things I've heard in this show for 10 minutes. Literally, you're absolutely right, because it is like you're a suicide bomber. You're not only going to kill yourself, but you're also going to take all the people around you. And these are the same people, these anti-vaxxers that are, chanting my body, my choice now, and they don't believe that a woman has a right to choose at the same time.
Totally. They don't, I mean, and we can go into the whole thing of that. I mean, they don't believe, there are certain people who are on the pro-life side of the argument where I feel like there's a genuine thing, like they are super religious and they really do believe like once the babies are born, they should be taken care of. But that's the minority. Most people are kind of like, how dare you? Like there's a punitive aspect. That's the thing. It's kind of like, well, you should have known the consequences. Like your baby should never be a punishment ever.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're absolutely right. And also, a woman's right to choose isn't going to kill masses, or not masses, but could, because it's so contagious. You're not going to kill anybody else by making the choice to get an abortion. You're not killing
anybody. And by the way, Irene, actually, there is evidence to suggest somebody did some study that most of the people who become serial killers and mass murderers are people where the mother didn't want the baby. Exactly. And I don't know if that was manipulated. I have no idea. But, it's never like they came from a loving home. Do you know what I'm saying? Like where the parents.
Absolutely. Exactly. Because if serial killers did come from a loving home, they would have been surgeons instead. It's absolutely true, Karen. You drive a solid point. Okay. These people are, there's no point. And in any event, it's a woman's right to choose. But what's so upsetting about this video again is the very important point that you brought up, how Kathy Griffin was just panned for her holding up an obviously a propped decapitated head, or it wasn't even a decapitated head.
And she's a comedian, not a politician.
Exactly.
I mean, people keep saying, I wish our politicians were held to the same standards that our comedians are. And boy, is that true in this circumstance. Exactly. Because this is even worse. Also because there is this bizarre focus on AOC as like, it's this weird fantasy that a lot of these old school Republicans have. It's like of killing her. I think it's killing her, but fucking her first. Let's be honest. Yeah, there's like a rape fetish something. Yeah. Yes, it's part of it is because she's so pretty. Like she is just a very pretty person. Like she just has lovely looking features, and it kills them. It kills them that the stuff that comes out of her mouth is smart. Yeah. Even if you don't agree with what she says, she's savvy.
That's right. She's intelligent, she's beautiful, and she emasculates these old fucking white dudes. And so we're going to see what's going to happen. I was a little surprised that Twitter actually wrote this. Twitter, who I thought might pull it, actually wrote this in an article. Twitter has determined or put this, actually, it says right here, Twitter said Monday evening that the video violated its rules on hateful conduct, but did not remove the video, instead affixing a label to it that reads, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible. How is that in the public's interest? I don't know.
Well, maybe Twitter has decided that it shows what a fucking asshole Gosar is.
Right. And I did think of that, and you're right. It does show that, it could absolutely illustrate that he's an asshole. So it could, but at the same time, I think pulling it would also make a statement.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
It's a crazy world we live in. You're a woman. I'm a woman in a man's world doing comedy, sweetie. I want to know what's going on with you. How's everything? You've been doing a lot of shows recently, right? You do a political show. Am I correct in saying that?
I do a show called, I don't think your podcast will air by Thursday, but I do a show called Ruthless Comedy Hour, which is a once a month variety show. I do it with Corey Kahaney and Cindy Kaplan, who's she does like songs that are so brilliant that tear down everything. And it's a mix of pop culture, politics, stand-up music. It's fun. And it got very political. We did it all through the lockdown, and it got incredibly political, obviously, during the coronavirus, just because everything was so political.
Yes.
And we're still keeping that up, but it's not.
Oh, and you should, sister. You absolutely should. There are people that say to comedians, people don't want to hear about politics. They just want to think, they want to hear something that's sort of more mainstream, that sort of deflects from politics. But I think if you can make somebody laugh while you're making a difference and talking about the issues that are really important, I say go for it. I'm burning my bra, sweetie.
And I also think like making fun of these people is fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun making fun of Paul Gosar. He's an idiot,
Yeah.
Is that am I pronouncing his name correctly?
Yeah, you did. You were perfect. Yeah. Gosar. I called him Grosar because he's
Grosar.
Yeah.
He's just that's a good name. I mean, he's a vile little man. And it's embarrassing. I mean, he's from Arizona. I thought he was from.
Yes, Arizona. He's a Republican representative from Arizona. Yes.
They're really batting 1,000 with Cinema and Grosar.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing.
It is really embarrassing. That's why it is fun to make fun of these people and get it out into the mainstream, and so that other people can know as how dumb and how deeply dumb these people are. I think it makes a big difference. Now, how do you, as a woman doing stand-up, you also have children. Do you have 1 or 2 children? I want to know.
2 children, 2 boys.
2 boys, sweetie. How is it that you manage your time? Now, you were doing stand-up years and years ago. When you started in, what year did you start stand-up?
In the late 90s.
In the late 90s. Right. I remember you doing my show. Do you remember that? Hysteria?
Yes. Yes. Where was it?
It was at Zinc Bar on Houston Street.
Yes. Okay, I do remember that.
You do remember doing it then. And then you had children. You got married and had children, or
yes,
whatever.
I got married and had children, stayed doing comedy, but obviously the kind of the frequency definitely subsided. I stopped, and in some ways everything changed. Like I was on a really fast upward swing, I would say. And then I had these children, and my husband's the one with the health insurance.
Right.
And I'm the one who stayed at home. And he wasn't horrible about it. I mean, he wasn't like, you need to be home, but like at a certain point, you can't run out and do these non-paying gigs and then pay a babysitter $100. It doesn't. So I started working a lot less frequently, and that depressed me because I was just moving at a different pace. But then I started writing, and I've written and published a couple of novels.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so working on something now. Yeah, so that kind of kept me. That was like a different direction, and it kind of was something I could do at home, while the kids were napping and when they went.
You know what, Karen? I'm going to tell you something. That's exactly how I feel when I have to leave my house, go into the city for a $20 spot, pay a fucking toll, $15 both ways.
The toll is like the babysitting.
It doesn't make any sense. Right. Okay, I feel like I don't know if you started watching Maid on Netflix, but you see my finances up on the screen being deducted as I'm going throughout my day doing a spot, which is what women do when they're at the end of their fucking fertility. Okay, I'm not interested in doing spots or spotting or any of that. See, it took a pandemic for me to, to sort of be clunked over the head with the gravitational pull of reality that working smart and working hard in conjunction is what makes the difference. But working hard and not working smart is like working for nothing. So you obviously have been doing this all along, which I think is, brilliant. You wrote 2 novels, which I had no idea that you wrote. Now, is it a comedy? I'm guessing they're comedy novels.
They're like comic romantic mysteries.
Oh,
they're fun. They're fun. They're fun. One is called Following Polly, and one is called Perfect is Overrated.
Wow, this is amazing. So where can everybody find that? On Amazon?
I think they're on it. I think the days of that are being in the bookstore are long gone because they came out a while ago. But you get them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I mean, they're like, they're like real books. They're not.
Wow, this is amazing. Yeah. And so now you're working on something else?
I am, but I don't know if my publisher will like it. You just don't know. So
you don't know. But what about if you like it, sweetie? That's what really matters. And I'm sure you have a lot to say after what we've all been through with this collective near-death experience.
Absolutely, although they don't touch on this.
Good, because no one wants to fucking hear it. I'm serious.
No, and in fact, there's no even allusion to it.
Right.
And I was actually talking about this with another comedian about how we've all sort of like, no one's really talked about how we were all like in lockdown for a year plus. No one did it. Like it's this weird thing. Like it's almost like it's whitewashed. Like people, I notice when I've left New York, and you don't really talk about it with other people. Like I'll be like, yeah, in the city, and especially when I've been to some of these like redder states where no one really acknowledges what happened. It's so strange.
Yeah.
It's like this lost year.
Yeah, it's a lost year. I think that people, it's almost like when you've been abused, it's sort of like not imprinted. We want to forget it. We're almost like in denial. We don't want to revisit that. Yes, we know it happened, but we don't feel the need to continue to talk about it because we were in it for an entire year. We felt it. We digested it. We talked about it. It was so apparent. Everybody was on Zoom. And now we don't want any recollection of that. We just want to move forward with life and sort of re-enter. A lot of good things did happen as a result of COVID lockdown, though. I don't care what anybody says.
I agree. I mean, there were some things that happened, I do think it was really hard. It's funny. I have one kid who is a senior in high school now, and he was a junior during lockdown, which was actually, I thought, great because junior year, if you remember, is the hardest one. And
yes, it was.
He didn't have any like temptations. Do you know what I mean? Like there was nothing for him to do. And he's also a runner, and the running practices always took up so much time. So he had more time to focus on his schoolwork. But then I have a younger kid who I think was affected by it more. Like I do think some of the kids, like I feel for some of these sort of middle school aged children got screwed up over it.
It's got to be very scary or very unusual for them because they don't get to socialize. Socializing is such a huge part. Would you say that your junior high runner child is a little less social or more introverted than?
No. He's not. He's very social, but he's somebody who was able to transform whatever it was into FaceTime.
Right. Oh, but look who's here. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. Frank, hi. Welcome. Were you taking a nap?
I'm sorry, I spaced out. I thought it was Thursday, and then you sent me a message, and then I thought you thought that it was Wednesday today, and I apologize.
Don't worry about it, Frank. This is what happens when you hang out with me on a regular, okay? You turn into me, sweetie. Anyway, Frank, this is Karen. Karen, this is Frank.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Frank.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I follow you on Twitter. You're so funny.
Oh, thank you.
We were just talking about, she has 2 children, boys, and the pros and cons of lockdown in terms of school, homeschooling, or Zoom schooling, as they're calling it.
Yeah, I don't want to call it homeschooling because that has a different connotation.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And I also didn't do any of it. Like, I just was like, it's time to wake up. That was kind of my homeschooling.
That was your homeschooling. Plus, I always think that homeschooling is sort of like the last resort for kids that like could go rogue and spray up a school for bullets. Let's be honest, okay? You kind
I feel like it's very
cancer away from the rest of the school. Yeah.
I feel like it's sort of an anti-vax kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like what the school isn't, I know better than the school. I know better than the science. Me.
Yeah, you know better. You know better.
Joe Rogan.
You know better for other people's kids, because if you don't vaccinate your kids, they're going to get other kids sick. So
100%.
You selfish.
100%.
No.
That's right. So Frank, before you came on, we were talking about what was going on with Gross. What's his name again?
Paul Gosar,
right? With AOC.
Yeah, he did the animated thing of him killing AOC. Well, you know, I mean, that type of thing, fortunately, is not allowed in the Republican Party. They've taken swift action. Oh, wait a minute. They haven't done anything about it. He's as people pointed out online today, at any job, you'd be fired for that if you did that about a coworker. And here he is in Congress. His party isn't even going to reprimand him or even say anything about it.
Mm-hmm. There's no accountability. And Karen also brought up a point when you were before you came on about how when Kathy Griffin held up that head, it was like a big thing.
I know.
Everybody went up in arms. What do you think about Twitter not pulling it, Frank? I'm curious, you know, because
I saw that they didn't pull it, and they put some explanation that said that it was, I didn't understand their explanation, but, you know, social media is, I can't comprehend it. As you know, I was banned from Facebook permanently. And
can you tell me why, or has that story have you done that story too?
No, I'm happy to tell you. But I did a tweet about how if Hitler and other fascist dictators were around today and they went on Sunday shows like Meet the Press, the hosts of those shows wouldn't be afraid to confront them and say, thanks for coming on our show. You're welcome back anytime, which is what they say to all of the insurrectionists and all the fascists that they have on all the time. They're very buddy with them. And so I think Facebook, it's not a person. It's an artificial intelligence that like sees the word Hitler or something like that, and then decides that you're doing hate speech. Meanwhile, all these people who are doing hate speech, like Breitbart and Ben Shapiro, you know, they're not censored at all ever. Whereas I want to present myself as an example, as a free speech martyr. But I realize that I'm not really Lenny Bruce of this. I'm more like the McLean Stevenson of modern times. I've just been canceled a lot, just like McLean Stevenson was in the 70s.
You've been canceled for Facebook. I'd say that's a great thing, Frank, honestly.
Well, I miss it though. I do miss it. I have to. It's completely evil, but I do miss being on it. I have to say.
That just enrages me, because all these people with their anti-vax crap,
right?
They're killing people.
Right.
They're literally killing people.
Yeah, they are. And Facebook doesn't care. And all they care about is profits. And, you know, who knew that movie, The Social Network, was a really mild portrayal of Mark Zuckerberg. He came off as a jerk in that, but it was nothing compared to what he turned out really to be.
I mean, honestly, he's buying and selling us. He's trafficking us. That's what he's doing. It's crazy. Yeah. We're being trafficked. It's people, no, it's not hyperbolic. That's exactly what's going on. The guy, it's funny to me that you've been canceled and people go into Facebook jail. Why does he go into Facebook jail? Why doesn't he, you know, it's just, well, we miss you on Facebook, but thank God for Twitter.
Yeah, you're
Right?
great on Twitter.
I still have Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, and I love TikTok, although I don't make videos for TikTok, but I watch TikTok all the time. I love it.
See, now I'm holding out on TikTok and I'm not scrolling because I can't. I have a fucking serious.
You know what? It's addicting, and it's great for when you're sitting on the toilet. I find,
Yeah.
to scroll on TikTok. There's a lot of really. There's some fun people doing funny videos. There's just complete narcissists who are talking to the camera, and it's a mixture of a lot of different types of things.
I'm going to try it when I'm on the
narcissists say? What do the complete narcissists say?
Oh, they just, it's just they talk about themselves. They just look at the camera and talk about what's going on in their life. And some of them are very compelling and intelligent, and I'm interested to hear them. Others are just kind of, why are you making this video? Why are you sharing this with us, that you're going to go to Taco Bell and get something to eat?
But then because they know somebody like you is taking a shit and you're tuning in. That's why, Frank. Okay, your answer, I just answered your question, okay? Now, if I do it on the toilet bowl, Frank, I think this might be more effective for me because it'll be like multitasking, so I won't feel as bad, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I started watching? Maid. Have you either of you seen Maid on Netflix?
I've seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
Frank.
Do you know that the girl who stars in it is the daughter of Andy McDowell?
Oh my God! Are you serious? I didn't know. I'm sorry, I'm having a moment here because she actually looks like her. Frank, promise me you'll watch this movie.
It's really good.
It is.
Will.
It's not a movie, it's a series. It's a limited series. She looks just like Andy McDowell. Is she the one that dated Pete Davidson? Please tell me she didn't date Pete Davidson.
Can you be more specific?
I don't know. Should I look it up? I don't know. She doesn't.
She's
I'm gonna look it up. Hold
Karen
on.
because she's becoming the producer now. Frank, you're absolutely going to love this. And it really shows so many components of why America is broken, and the misogyny and the way that women are treated and all the things that we're trying through the Biden administration to push forward, like child care and daycare and all the different things that women need. And also people like I was reading this one article that billionaires, I did not know this. I honestly didn't know that billionaires don't have to pay income taxes because on paper it looks like they're jobless, but they can pull out money from the stock market. I honestly didn't know the extent of this. Yet
they don't pay any. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, these people pay nothing in taxes. It's outrageous.
I thought there was tax evasion. I didn't realize that they were paying absolutely nothing in taxes because literally on paper, they don't have a job. It's an investment. So they can pull out all this money and they're not being taxed. And somebody who's working at Taco Bell.
Well, I'm not a socialist at all. But a part of me thinks that like being a billionaire should be illegal. In other words, you're not allowed to make more than $1 billion. Anything over $1 billion you make, you have to donate or give back because it seems immoral for these people to have so much money,
Yeah.
And plus, if you tell someone, look, you're not allowed to go above $1 billion. You're allowed to keep $999 million. With that money, you can still do whatever the fuck you want with your life. You can still have a yacht. You can still live in mansions.
You can do so much. And you want to hear something really disgusting? I have to talk about this. My mother, who's on a fixed income with my very autistic brother, they make X amount of money. They're constantly being audited because their accounts can't go over a measly $5,000, literally. Right. Okay, over $5,000. There's an audit. Their checks can actually be taken away. But people like that with their yachts and everything else, like you're saying, Frank. But I'm not a socialist either. But I am seethingly jealous, and I think that we should also.
Yeah, I just say outlaw billionaires. Once you go above $1 billion, you donate it or.
I just don't know how they live with themselves. Like they're so gross. They just seem gross. Even if they weren't, by the way, I just looked up, that is the woman that dated Pete Davidson.
Oh, I knew it. See, I knew it. Oh my
In other words,
God.
you went to the public directory and anyway.
The public directory, Frank, is called Google.
Is there any ass that bitch hasn't tapped? It's disgusting. I love that girl. She's such an extraordinary actress. It was so heartbreaking to see and to know that so many mothers actually live like this, okay? You're responsible for a child. You want to go work at a shitty job cleaning houses, but you need to be able to leave your child somewhere and you have nowhere to live. It's like a heartbreaking thing. I'm not going to say anything more about it, but Frank,
There's so many issues that are brought up about like how the system is really kind of broken. And I thought it was it's a good story and it makes a point. Both of those. And the acting is Andy McDowell is unbelievable.
Oh, is Andy McDowell in it as well?
Yeah, she plays the mother of the woman who plays. She plays the mother of her real daughter. Yeah.
That's good.
It's really amazing, and she's so great, and she's. I mean, I don't know how you feel about her, Frank, Andy McDowell, but I absolutely love and adore her.
I mean, she's in Groundhog's Day, which is a really good movie, and Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Remember that?
Oh, right, yeah.
She made a lot, and people are very partial to 4 Weddings and a Funeral. She was in that.
Right, I love 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
So she's done a lot of.
She's an interesting actress, I think.
Yeah,
I think this is her best. I think she really got the character. Apparently, her mother had some of the same issues that this character that she plays a woman who's. It's unclear if she's got schizophrenia or she's bipolar. It's something.
Well, you know what?
Whatever it is, it's very drastic.
And you know what? Bipolar and schizophrenia are often one and the same. Like, they have a lot of the same components. People don't realize that. But there are delusions and auditory and hallucinations with bipolar disorder too.
Yes.
But she was so great in that. I mean, she is so great, and I still have a few episodes to go. But it almost feels like she's been down that road, and she could really identify with that character.
Absolutely, I thought it was. Great.
I'm going to check it out for sure.
You have to check it out.
Now that I have a maid and I'm part of the problem,
Frank just recently got a cleaning lady. I also thought it was derogatory that she was called a maid, but very dramatic.
I always call her my housekeeper, or my
I call our what happened for us is our babysitter. We don't need her as a babysitter anymore, but she happens to be pretty good at cleaning. So, and I wanted to keep her employed. And so I call her my paid friend. Well,
look at you. You're like the 1% a heart. No, I'm just kidding. You're not the 1%, sweetie. You are keeping her employed, which is very sweet because it's hard. Before Frank, before you came on, we were talking, Karen used to do my show at Hysteria in the 90s, sort of, got married, had a couple of kids. And then Karen, when did you start, when you started doing, first of all, when did you start doing stand-up again?
Late 90s.
Okay. You never stopped. You said you continued to do.
Never stopped.
Okay, right. I think that's important.
No, I didn't. I mean, I actually had an emergency C-section.
And did a show that night.
I didn't do it that night because I was in the hospital. But and my son was premature, so I had to be home with him. But I think I did a show I think I did Judy Gold's school fundraiser 2 weeks when he was 2 weeks old. I was dying to get out.
It's important.
It might have been 3 weeks, but it was.
Now, don't you think it's interesting that I feel like women are having children more now. I don't know. I mean, when you had kids and you were doing stand-up, I think it was a much more difficult time to have children.
Oh yeah, nobody had them. I mean, a few people did, but it was people were like, "What are you doing here?" And when I just had the one, I would bring him to the shows with me, and the waitresses would watch him. But then when you have that second kid, it's like why are you bringing your family? Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
So I stopped,
Like
as soon as I had the second one,
social services.
the second kid is what really kind of puts you out to pasture, you know, in this field. And I did, you know, it was very hard to do. And
How many years apart were the kids?
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Do they kill each other? Because I know my sister and I beat the shit out of each other. Frank, we never talk about your siblings and how you got along.
As adults, we all get along.
Not adults, children.
As kids, my brother Rex and I, who was like a year and a half younger than me, like we used to fight all the time. Like we would, you know, really get into, because we had to share a room, you know, and if you know one thing about me, when I go on the road, I ain't sharing a hotel room with anybody, you know. I have to have my private sanctuary. And so that, you know, we were 5 kids in an apartment, you know,
I love it.
a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment. But my sister, I thought it sucked that she always got her own room, because there were 4 boys and 1 girl, and Lucy always got her own room, and I thought that was really unfair.
It was all because Lucy should what, you know? God bless it.
I was resentful about that, you know. And then I had friends of mine, the Cunninghams. They lived in the Bronx, and they were like a much more traditional, like Irish Catholic family, and that was the same thing. There were a lot of boys and 1 girl, or maybe 2 girls. And after in our house, like, after we ate, like all the kids had to take turns being the one to clean up afterwards, you know, to wash the dishes and everything. But in the Cunningham household, they always made the girls do it, you know. And then I was like advocating that in our house. I was saying, I was like a total sexist pig when I was 10 years old.
Well, Lucy has her own room, so fuck, she needs to get in there and start scrubbing some pants. Karen, do you feel like your boys, do they get along with when they were younger?
Okay, in my house, which is me and 3 boys, my husband and 2 kids, I always do the dishes. You know, I always say, my husband minored in women's studies, and he's never washed a dish. That's like my saying about him.
He studies you while you're washing the dish.
Yeah, he's right.
Observing.
You know, no matter how late I come home from a gig or whatever, there's like a pile. You know, a pile sitting in the sink. No one thinks
So
it.
annoying.
My boys actually, I mean, they fight sometimes, but I think they get along better than other brothers. Somebody said to me, when they're little, you have to kind of like, so the first thing we did is when I had the second one, somebody had said, make the older one like the second one by giving him like a gift that is like out of control fabulous that he would never get, and make it from the little kid. So the new one. So my older son was obsessed with vacuum cleaners. As a kid, he loved vacuum cleaners. He was 2, so it's not that weird. And we got him like a dirt devil for kids. Like they have these like little dirt devils.
Yeah.
And we said it was from the little brother, like when he was born. And then when he came to visit him in the hospital, we gave him candy. We gave him everything. So his association of this little kid is like presents and candy.
Wow.
Does he still hit him up? Does he still hit him up for gifts? Because that's like
yeah, they do. I have to say they definitely fight sometimes. There is sibling rivalry, but it's definitely not as bad as like some other kids. It's like the kids really just don't like each other. Like they don't have a lot in common or whatever. My kids there is some crossover of interests. And sometimes I hear them talking and it's like they're friends.
Well, my mom had 5 kids in like 9 years.
Irish twins.
And I think a present she would have loved back then would have been birth control, you know.
Totally.
As an Irish Catholic wife, I don't think she was allowed to. You know, this is the 50s, and like
totally.
your only job is to push out kids, you know. And I think my mom, you know, if in a more liberated age, she might have stopped at 2. I wouldn't be.
Might have stopped at 2 or maybe even 1. That's like Steve's mother. She had like 5 boys. No, wait, 4 boys. They all had like 2 rooms, and Yeah, same thing. Like the Irish, I don't know, they're not even twins at this point. They're
And
Kentucky.
we had a comparatively small family. A lot of my cousins and stuff on my mother's side. My parents are both Irish Americans, both of Irish descent. As am I. Keep coming back, it works. But anyway, they their cousins, like my mother, a lot of her cousins had like 9 kids.
Wow, I can't even imagine. I can't, I can't even use a Super Plus tampon. I can't imagine having 9 kids. I really honestly can't. What happens there? I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it was more common. Families got smaller as the baby boomers came along, and then it was suddenly in the culture, it was like, you know what, you're not going to hell if you use birth control.
Birth control, exactly.
If you're 18 and someone knocks you up, it's a good option. Get an abortion. That's actually a really good option that you should.
It's a great option.
Check out,
It is absolute. Do you watch Call the Midwife, either of you? It's so good.
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's an English show that's been going on for like 11 years. And it starts right after World War II. It's got, those English like period, pieces. And it's like nuns and midwives from the 40s and 50s. I'm now in the early 60s. And it's kind of like a Grey's Anatomy, except it's in England during a different time. And it's nuns and midwives. So it's all usually birth stuff related to birth, but it's, there's like a different story like every week, although there are like sort of ongoing arcs to the seasons. But somebody will maybe like, the baby will be born like, and the baby's black and neither of the parents is black. You know what I mean? So it's like the whole episode is, oops, I cheated and now everybody knows. Like, how did how does the family deal? And that was one of the first episodes, and the father didn't know, he was in such denial that he didn't see that the baby was like different looking from him. It was fascinating. It's a really good show. It's one of those good BBC shows. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. I'm gonna have to watch that.
I've got 2 Netflix shows to check out. This is great.
It's amazing. Please watch Maid first because it's so amazing, and you'll never, you're already very kind to your maid, but I think that you're going to start helping her clean after you see this show, Frank.
Totally.
That is never happening.
You're going to pay her more is what you're going to do.
The whole point of her income is so that I don't have to lift a fucking finger to clean.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see. Okay, so I'm going to see Frank tomorrow. Frank, I'm coming by tomorrow, and I do want to see your apartment. I want to come right up the job.
But just remember that when you come tomorrow, it's on Wednesday, the furthest from when I last got it cleaned.
Oh, she comes on Thursday?
Yeah, my maid comes on Thursday, and she's and she, I think she makes good money. I think, it's my one extravagance in my life that
Where do you live?
I live on the Upper East Side of Manhattan.
I live Midtown. I'm gonna come by your house.
Yeah.
See how clean it is.
His apartment looked. Listen, Frank, I can't wait to see how spotless your place is. I think
it's not spotless. Not on a Wednesday. Maybe Thursday night.
I'm letting it go.
Thursday night it'll be spotless. Wednesday it's like, wow, for Frank Conniff, this isn't bad. That's what it's like.
I clean a lot on my own, but I do have somebody come in like once a month for thorough cleaning because I'm neat. But I'm not the cleanest. Like, I hate that deep diving into clean, Karen.
Yeah, the first time she cleaned, she had to wear a hazmat suit. It was.
Are you tidy?
Me?
Yeah.
No, whatever the opposite of tidy is that's who I am. I'm not tidy at all.
Me neither. I'm like a mess. Like
I'm pretty tidy.
My husband is disgusted with me.
I'm tidy. I'm pretty clean. I'm pretty tidy. My husband is a slob, and but he's got he calls his chaos organized. So I can't take anything from the table. If I move it, he just knows exactly where it is under 100 pieces of paper in the back of the corner. You know what I mean? So it's like that. But I don't bother with things, and I'm not one of these people that get so upset if somebody's sloppy. But I like my area neat, you know? So if you're gonna come over and fuck up my area, heads are gonna roll. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Anyway, so Karen, we are running out of time, and I feel like we haven't really asked enough questions here. First of all, I want you, Frank, she has an amazing podcast. It's called Shut Up Mommy. What is it called again?
Shut Up Mommy's Talking.
Mommy's Talking with Kyle, who is on our show, Kyle Ocasio. She was.
Oh, I love her.
Yep. And they do the show together now. Tell us where can we find the show? I know it's doing really great.
It's on all those podcasting things like Apple and all that.
And basically you have like, you talk about like you talk to different mothers of all sorts.
We talk to different mothers. We have Father of the Month. We have one dad a month. And mothers, we have stepmothers. But we haven't yet had somebody who's not a parent. But we don't always talk about the kids. Like it ends up being, sometimes we talk about the parenting stuff, but I call it a parenting podcast for people who don't like parenting podcasts. Like it's not, we don't give any advice. We're not interested in that.
Right.
We complain is really what we do. We just complain about whatever's going on with our kids. Sometimes we usually have a comic on. We did a couple weeks ago, we had a woman who I know, who's a fairly well-known journalist who wrote this book called Crazy Love about her first marriage, which was to like this horrible abuser. And she's given TED Talks about it and stuff like that. And
what's her name? I want to, that sounds like an interesting book.
Yeah, Leslie Morgan Steiner is her name.
Okay.
The book is called Crazy Love. She's a fascinating person to talk to. And she really, I mean, frankly, it came out like around the time I was watching Made, which is another plot in Made.
Right, exactly. It's about abuse. And
yeah, it's about abuse.
Defines abuse.
And it's sort of like how, people, it sort of gives you a little, I mean, she actually explained it a little bit better than I think the show does, why people stay with their abusers. And it's really interesting. And she doesn't.
One of the things, Karen, I think in Maids, it's like it's redefining abuse. I think a lot of the times women do not think they're being abused when it's emotional abuse,
right?
Or when you're in a rage-filled situation, you don't consider that abuse because somebody didn't full on punch you in the face and knock your teeth out, because that's what women think in the back of their heads about abuse. So.
Right, the gaslighting is really in some ways.
Gaslighting is abuse, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's so you got to check out her podcast, everybody. It's amazing. Her and Kyle are so incredible on it. Plus, you have shows coming up. I know that you have a big show coming up next week. Is it?
Yeah, well, I got a Ruthless show. Look up Ruthless Comedy Hour if you want to like like us on Facebook or Instagram. And then if you want to subscribe to our podcast, Shut Up Mommy's Talking, that would be great. We're having so much fun. And you don't have to be a parent to listen to it because, again, the parenting thing is more like a gimmick rather than this week we're going to talk about breastfeeding. Like it's just like we're so uninterested in that stuff. Unless it comes up organically.
Frank likes breastfeeding, though. Frank, you're interested in breastfeeding, just a little, admit it.
Yes, very much so. My mom and dad described their parenting as a gimmick. It was just.
Okay, you got it.
That they did.
That is hysterical.
Having 5 kids.
I don't know how your parents did it, Frank. It's amazing. It's unbelievable.
I think the answer to that is they didn't do it, but they did it, and they just like any parent, or you do what you can and hope for the best, and that's
right. That's what my mother thought, and apparently it didn't work out for her. Okay, none of us have kids. She doesn't have any grandchildren. I have an autistic brother, a lesbian sister, and I certainly didn't want to have kids. So there you go, Mom. That was the big gravitational pull of reality in the family. Let's stop the madness, okay? And that's what we did. Okay, that was a very sour note, but I think it's good for the world. It's like
I haven't had a kid, and that means there's one less alcoholic Gen Zer. in the world.
Exactly. That's how I feel. I feel like this is my donation to society, my altruism, not having children. Okay. Okay. So Karen, where can everybody follow you on social media, sweetie?
So I'm on Twitter at Karen Bergreen. I'm on Instagram at Bergreen Karen. I don't mean to bring this up because Frank, it's a sore subject, but I am on Facebook, Karen Bergreen.
Okay.
I'm not on TikTok yet because I'm scared of the time suck. And that's really it.
Awesome.
I mean,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Frank, anything you want to plug, sweetie? What about you, Frank?
Well, I think by the time this airs, I will have done everything that I have to plug. I'm doing my Mads show with Trace Beaulieu tonight, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing a show at, not to brag, but Two Boots Pizza in Williamsburg, Wednesday night.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. I love
Good
those shows.
pizza.
Please, they have good pizza. Also, almost as good as Fiore's. I've done shows at bowling alleys and when the
And this is actually a really, I've done it before. It's actually a really good place to do comedy. They have a room in the back.
Yeah.
So it's just very self-contained, and the pizza is on the outside, and it's Lucas Connolly books it. He's a great guy, very funny comedian.
So if you want to see, you have some good pizza, that's the place to go and see some funny. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm Irene Bremis on Twitter, Instagram. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Check us out next week when Frank and Irene sit down with, you know what? I don't know what these two are going to do next, but we'll see you next week.